Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Return from Witch Mountain. This is a sequel to Escape to Witch Mountain. This is Return from, yes. Uh, I believe it or not, despite my geeky inclinations and my long-term love of fantasy and sci-fi and superheroes and everything else, I have not seen any of these Witch Mountain movies. I maybe because I was never really interested in witches, and there aren't. But the thing is, anybody who knows what I just said there and knows these movies knows there are no witches involved. It's a really deceptive name. I it's somebody in the marketing department. I realize this is probably based on books and stuff like that, but this is like Escape to Witch Mountain, which I think it comes to. I'm guessing since I have not seen it, this is the first time I've seen it in any of the Witch Mountain movies. The third of which was featured an early, role of Dwayne the Rock Johnson, but these are from the '70s. These original Escape to and Return from, and they're honestly thinly plotted child fantasy films that really just give them a chance, give the people making the movies a chance to create some sort of great for its time special effects spectaculars. Now this is from 1978. It's an hour and 33 minutes long, and it stars some icons and some kids who were from the original film. But I gotta say this right up front. Betty Davis, one of the icons of cinema, is in this in her later years, obviously. But geez, I just never imagined her to be in a movie like this. Not that this is a beneath her or anything. I'm just saying that it's odd that she plays a villain, which she's but it's a villain of a different type. I think but she stands alongside Christopher Lee, Dracula, Count Dooku, among many other roles that he's had throughout. But he's Saruman, yeah, okay. He's honestly he's well known for a lot of different things. He's an icon. He's the template for James Bond. He's he's that cool of a character. But in this, he plays a villain as well. He's kind of a mad scientist of sorts who has the ability to control people's minds with a machine that he speaks into. It's about the size. I don't know. It's bigger than an iPhone. It's like picking. It almost looks like picking up a Funko Pop and just yelling into it to tell people what to do. Okay, maybe it's not that big, but it's about that size. It seems really chunky. But the thing is, the thing that controls him is a little electronic thing that you put behind your ear, and that's actually kind of a little bit more realistic. But it's all blinky and full of circuitry, but it's about the size of a peanut or something like that, a legume, and it sort of just sticks behind the ear, and we get an early view of what that can do when he puts it on one of his minions, this guy who looks like he'd be a... Okay, I got to say his name is... Where's his name? Come on. Where are you? Anthony James. If you've seen him in anything, if you know the name, once you see this guy, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I recognize this guy. He looks like a villain. Sorry, Anthony. But he's no longer with us anymore. But yeah, he's man, yeah, he's just got that look of just, I'm a devious dude. Well, he tries out his mind control thing on this guy, and his name is Sickle. Really, Sickle is his name. Why didn't I retain that? Sickle. So he's like a minion of the Christopher Lee's character. Well, and also the nephew of Betty Davis's character. So he's in on this. He's the muscle. He's there to snatch up kids and put them out with the thing, knock them out, because you don't want to get Christopher Lee's or Betty Davis's hands dirty in that. And he also takes a bit more of the abuse. He's afraid of heights, of course, so Christopher Lee makes him climb to the top of a very tall building and jump off. Okay, I get that would be a good test of how well a control is, but You were planning on murdering the nephew of Betty Davis's character for kicks. Just, I mean, to test something. That's he's no longer useful. That, but the good thing is that the kids have returned from Witch Mountain at the exact proper time in order to save this villain, which would eventually lead to their lead to a lot of trouble. So I'm not going to give away the whole plot, but there's it's not like it's a really complex plot. Uh, all I know is that Uncle Jesse from the Dukes of Hazzard is their uncle. What you call it? He's from the first film as well. Again, since I didn't see the first one, I don't know what it took to bring them together and put them in this place. But all I know is that the opening sequence is a really poorly composited silver plastic looking spaceship landing in the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles in Pasadena. So, and nobody saw that in the middle of the day. I realize LA sees a lot of weird stuff, but come on. 1978? Okay, 1978 Los Angeles is probably super weird. But still, I think you'd see a spaceship landing in the Rose Bowl. Thank God they didn't have the flea market that day. Or they probably wouldn't have chose that landing spot. But either way, Uncle Jesse drops them off and has a cab waiting for them. The driver is basically comic relief. He recurs throughout the movie here and there. And basically is a tool to get characters from one place to another, including a goat. Yes, there's a goat that does their bidding. Anyway, the kids hop in a cab. They get to see. There's a little montage scene of Los Angeles in 1978. Looks very different than it does now, but you can see a lot of. If you're from Los Angeles, you'll see a number of iconic spots throughout. And they get sort of sidetracked in a really bad part of town, and they realize, oh no, this guy's going to jump off a roof. And Tony, the male of the two, brother and sister, Tony and Tia. Tony, by the way, played by Ike Eisenman. I was like, how do I know this kid? Why does he look so familiar? It's because in a couple of years later, after this film, he's going to play the nephew of Scotty in Star Trek 2, and then die miserably in an early attack by Khan in The Wrath of Khan. It's he gets all these burns and stuff on him. Yeah, he's that kid who dies early on when Khan attacks Kirk. Anyway, in this he does not die because it's a Disney film, and there's not really any death, but there's just a whole lot of just weird things that happen in this that would probably never happen in this movie was made in modern day, which technically what modern day would count when it comes to the Dwayne The Rock Johnson version. But from what I understand by looking at the credits and stuff on each of these characters, the two, Tony and Tia, the actors who play them, Kim Richards and Ike Eisenman, both do appear in Return to Witch Mountain, but I don't know if they appear as themselves. I don't think so. I didn't retain that knowledge. But anyway, you get a lot of familiar faces from that era. You get Jack Sue, who plays Mr. Yakamoto, somewhat of a sort of cliche Asian character, but he's been in a bunch of stuff in the 70s and 80s. But he's a truant officer hunting down children to make sure they go to school. Well, I'm telling you way too much at this point, I realize. I'm sorry. But the movie has been out for a million years, so... anyway, this is to tell you that this is goofy, it's silly, it is just weird, and it's awesome because of it. Don't expect any kind of sense to be made out of a whole lot that's going on in this thing, but you can still enjoy it for what it is. Realize it's 1978. Love it if you're from Los Angeles. Love it for all the looks of how everything were back in 1978. It's a neat little time capsule. Yeah. Okay. By the way, I forgot to tell you that Tony and Tia, because they came down in a spaceship, they're alien kids from Witch Mountain, which I guess is a planet or something. I don't know, but again, there are no witches. Is no mountain, and it's just bad, just bad titling altogether. I think if they would remake this again, they would name it something else with the same concept, but a little bit more sophisticated. These two kids have telepathy between the two of them and telekinesis powers, where they can just float themselves or other people or lift heavy objects, which is kind of a cool X-Men kind of, kind of thing. And it's it's could lead to some pretty interesting situations. Again, maybe the Rock movie does that, does a whole lot of stuff a whole lot better. I have no idea, but we're dealing with 1978, sign special effects and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of people on wires. There's a lot of people who are literally taking this stuff in stride, like a security guard who's like, "Hey, where's your ID?" And they just like, "Okay, Tony, make him float," and he just floats up to the ceiling. It's like, "You shouldn't go in there without ID." Like, he's cool as a cat. Just not even freaked out that he's floating in the air, and he just stays there forever. Like, people find him later on and like, "Oh, that guy's hanging up in the ceiling, just standing stiff straight because he's on wires, and it's the slightest movement would possibly take him down." And then bring him down, and he's like, "Hey, well, you guys also can't go in there without ID." And they're like, "Okay, you're in our way," and they float him back up again, and he doesn't complain, he doesn't freak out. It's a bit, and it's actually really funny. So yeah. Anyway, Tony, to go all the way back to the very beginning, it just happens that they go through a really strange part of town, where where what's his name, Sickle, jumps off the roof, and Tony saves him at the last second before he hits the ground. And Christopher Lee and Betty Davis are like, "Whoa, this kid did something. He has powers. If we could use our mind control device on that kid, we could do whatever we want." Betty Davis is more interested in making money because she is a gambling woman and she has lost a lot of money, but she has enough money to invest in this Mr. Mad Scientist's kind of plans. He's Victor. He's just Victor. And Gannon is his last name, I think. Dr. Victor Gannon. So yeah, it's not important, but it's a name that's familiar when it comes to bad guys. So yeah, it basically takes our two heroes, Tia and Tony, and separates them and pits them against each other in many cases, where they struggle to communicate correctly in order to save him. Tia ends up teaming up, as you see here, with a bunch of gang members. They're basically a bunch of 9-year-olds who wear denim vests with skulls painted on them and get chased down by bigger kids that are mainly barely 2 years older than them, and just like to punch their fists a lot and look menacing. None of these kids are LA gangs, I can tell you that much. Not even in 1978. Holy cow, these kids are they're like, "I don't want to go to school, I don't want to listen to my mom or my sister, they're just mean, and so you can't have an education and be a gang member." Well, yeah, but still, they're just still adorable little kids who think they're gang members, and she teams up with them, and they help take care of her. It gives her a place to stay in their house. It looks like the building from Fight Club. It might be the same building from Fight Club. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, so they go on an adventure. They're barely fazed by the fact that she has these psychic visions, and also she can lift stuff and float people. And there's a big scene at the museum, which is an actual museum here in LA, but there's something with cowboys and a bunch of gold bars that are all sitting in a display in the center. They're gold bars. It's just okay. Let's look at some gold bars, and Betty Davis gets the idea of, let's heist those things, and things go well until they start going really wrong, and it shows the scary level of their power, but of course at the same time the scene is so completely silly and goofy. They make the stagecoach move around, and the mannequins like come after people, or like it's just it's so goofy. And then when she tells Tony, send the gold bricks out to Sickle. Why don't I never remember his name? But Sickle, who's parked outside, and all of a sudden the gold bricks just start flying at him, and they're gold bricks. Yes, really, they're just paper mache or whatever. It's foam wrapped in gold, but he starts getting whammed by gold bricks, and so he has to climb under the car as they start pummeling the back of the station wagon. Yes, they are rich enough to have a station wagon, and yeah, it there's a lot of it's a fun comedic bit that I think a lot of the times the people who are doing this know what's going on here. They're not pretending this is any kind of highbrow kind of thing. This is a movie made for kids, and it's a lot of fantasy, and it only gets darker toward the end when you realize that Tony and Tia have to face off with each other while Christopher Lee is telling him basically kill your sister with stuff, with using your telekinesis, and Tia has to fight him off. It could be done a whole lot better. Again, maybe that kind of thing happens in the Rock version in the future, but or another version of this movie that'll be made, honestly, in the next decade, I am sure. Hopefully without the name Witch Mountain, because again, super confusing. No witches, no mountains. So yeah, this is a little bit of Disney history, and I would probably suggest seeing the first one before seeing the second one. Which I will do at some point, but yeah, it's not come up yet. So, I actually recommend it. This is a bit of cult, has a bit of a cult following, I think, with a lot of people, and yeah, you should totally check this out when you get a chance. It's a fun little bit of thing. If you already obviously have a Disney Plus subscription, spend some time in the 70s. And I think the one before this was done maybe 2-3 years before, so you can see the kids grow up completely. I saw a picture of what they look like in one of the other things here. Like, yeah, that's how little they are. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm not gonna zoom in on it. But yeah, you can see how much they grew up. Yeah, so good fun. Return to Witch Mountain. I thought this would have been possibly really lame, but it's fun. It's cute. It's super silly. Don't take it too seriously. Don't expect it to wow you with the special effects. One of the cool things I did like about the special effects, though, was they repaired a van that they destroyed, and it's really just stop motion in a sense. Destroy a piece of the van, take another picture, destroy another piece of the van, and then until the point where you completely destroy the van, and then you just run it backwards, and it looks like it's fixing the van with using their telekinesis. So they're powerful kids. I mean, I think they really underdid. You don't realize just how powerful these alien kids are. So I think it just lends itself to a lot more stories if given the chance. And I don't know about the books. The books probably there might be 1 billion of them. I don't know if there are books at all. I don't know. Anyway, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
186.
186. 186. Ooh, just overshot it. Oh, there we go. Well, hey, we got a short for the first time in a long time. This one focuses on Pluto. This is Food for Feudin. Food for Feudin is what we're watching next, starring Pluto on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.